Hello everyone and welcome back to another Guitar Tone Tested. And today the question is, does Bit Crush sound better before or after Drive? How many people are asking this? Probably one, and that's just me. So this spawned from a video of me trying to set up my pedal board, converting it over to dual lock, and that video will never come out because it just would have sucked. But maybe I'll do a video once my pedal board is more complete. Anyway, so yeah, that's what we're gonna test today. Because Bit Crush isn't a very popular effect, there isn't a very popular option to select, and either way I probably wouldn't have it anyway. So what I do have is the Flamma multi-modulation pedal, which is what we used in the last video testing ring modulation, but this time we have it set to the low bit setting, or otherwise known as Bit Crush. These are the settings that I am using. Speed is for the bits, how many bits there are, I think, or maybe it's also a frequency control. I don't know the exact terms, but I think it's a bit control, so how much fidelity there is of your guitar tone. The depth is a wet-dry control, so right now I have it leaning more towards the wetter, so more Bit Crush. Normally I would actually have it full wet and have it only be the Bit Crush sound, but I figured there's probably going to be some more normal people who want to hear some regular guitar in there, so I turned it back a little bit for you guys. You're welcome. And then this last control, it's just called Control. That one I'm not for sure what it is, but it brings the Screams of the Damned from all of the deleted files in the world. Yeah, I'm not fully for sure. I think it's like a fuzz control on a Bit Crusher, but if I turn it up, it starts to not agree with, I don't know if it's the power supply or what, or if that's even the issue. I don't know I would have to try it on a nicer power supply, but when I turn it up, it just screeches. So yeah, we're leaving that at minimum, because the Bit Crush sound completely comes through without that. Now, as always, we will be using the three main archetypes of drive other than boost. We will be using Overdrive, Distortion, and Fuzz, and we will be using popular options from those selections to have a generalized kind of experiment here. For our Overdrive, we have the not always loved but widely used TS9 Tube Screamer by Ibanez/Maxon, but I have the Ibanez version here. Next, we have, for Distortion, we would normally be using the Boss Metal Zone Distortion. Again, not very loved, but definitely widely used. But I put the Metal Zone on my actual pedal board, so I don't want to take it off quite yet. So instead we'll be using the Ultra Metal by Behringer, the UM300, which is a clone of the Metal Zone, but in a plastic enclosure from Behringer. It has a little less bass, so I tweaked some controls to get it done. It's not, it's not one-to-one sound, but it's pretty close. It's just a decent distortion tone to get the job done. And lastly, we have Fuzz, which we will be using the Dunlop/Arbiter Silicon Fuzz Face. That is the dark blue version, not the lighter blue Jimi Hendrix version. I forgot what the Fuzz Face designation number is. I believe it's either 1 or 2. I think that for some reason the Silicon version is 1, despite the germanium version coming first. I don't know. Anyway, it's the silicon version, the basic version, basic silicon version. If you want to know any of the other stuff being used to record our sound here, it will be linked in the description. There will be links to be able to buy the stuff. There are affiliate links to help me out. That adds no cost to you, and it's just an effort to try and shorten this intro for people who don't have the attention span. It's already probably too long. So with all that being said, let's finally get into some tones here. So I've already tuned. Oh shit. Okay, hit the tuner, not the guitar, thank God. Wouldn't be the first time I slam my headstock on this damn desk. So, let's hear a clean tone of just what the guitar sounds like. Alright, there's the basic tone. Let's hear the basic tone with the ring modulation. Very cool. I love this effect. It's so cool. And now let's move on to our first drive pedal, the TS9 Overdrive. TS9 Tube Screamer Overdrive. We have the level set to where it needs to be for the right volume for the recording. We have the tone set to noon and the drive set to about the 1:30 o'clock position, because that's where I believe overdrives sound best usually, although I was having a little bit of, I wasn't enjoying the sound as much in my last video for some reason. It was not, wasn't hitting the same, but we're still gonna leave it there because why not? So let's hear the bass tone for the Tube Screamer. Alright, well that sounded better than what I was thinking last time. Let me get my strap on here. My guitar keeps trying to slip off my leg. Alright, now let's hear the Ibanez Tube Screamer going into Bit Crush. Very cool. Let's switch around the pedals and see what there is to hear, if there's any differences to hear at all. Okay, so now the Bit Crush is going into the drive. So the classic saying of this series is that if you want to hear more of something, it should come after the pedals that are turned on, whatever pedals are turned on. And that is usually the case with modulations. Now, oddly enough, overdrive, in my opinion, usually modulations sound better going into overdrive. Yet, on the other ones, they usually sound better coming after. But that's, of course, my opinion. Let's see how it turns out this time. Whoa. We have some static coming through. Something is not enjoying this pedal order, I guess. Oh, I guess it's because the normal Bit Crush is now being boosted by the overdrive. So that's another side effect. Okay, so what I am hearing based on what I'm remembering, but of course I can't listen to it back to back, I only have to use my memory, which is apparently not very good in both scientific terms and in my case specifically. What I was hearing is that the Tube Screamer coming after more rounds out and makes the Bit Crush tone overall fuller, which was kind of nice. It's a lot more pleasant to the ear, I think, but it's not exactly in the spirit of bit crushing. if you ask me. The whole point of the bit crushing is to, you know, kind of be like Fuzz, and you're degrading the sound on purpose. But, you know, it depends on what you're going for. That's whole sort of thing. It's all on preference. But usually I would be stuck with it going after the overdrive anyway, because I don't know if this is everyone else's cup of tea, but I like to have my gain going up by distortion level. So my overdrive is usually closer to the front of my board, and usually I like my modulations coming after my distortions and stuff, so I kind of have to just deal with it that way. But maybe some other people with more simpler boards or something like that will find this more interesting and useful. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to distortion. If you are finding this video informational or entertaining, please leave a like. So now we have the ultra metal pedal on the floor, and as you can see, I've turned up the treble and bass a bit. The bass is a little lacking, and the treble I just turned up because it's kind of fun. It gets you this is a decent metal tone. It's not scooped mids, but it gives you a little more push on the fun parts. Levels turned to where it needs to be, distortion's at max, and both of the mid controls are at noon. So let's hear a bass tone for the ultra metal pedal. Very cool, love distortion. So now let's hear ring mod let's hear bit crush going into distortion. Screams the damned. Okay, so, I don't know if it came through the microphone more prominently. I was able to hear the bit crush a tiny bit, but not much. It was pretty much just swallowed whole by the distortion. I'd probably get a better sound with the bit crushing if I turned the bit crush to full wet, because then obviously there's no normal tone to come through, but to keep this this experiment fair, I don't want to tinker with the settings too much. So we're just going to move the pedal position and hopefully have a little more bit crushing fun with the bit crushing coming after the distortion. Okay, so here is the ultra metal going into bit crusher. Let's hope we have a little more bit crushing this time. Oh, we have a lot of bit crushing. Alright, well that was certainly a whole lot more fun. Wow. So, I think if you want bit crushing, I think the winner is pretty obvious here. Sometimes there's a contest between, its opinion on whether or not which one you like. This one, if you want the bit crush sound, you have to put it after the distortion. Now, I don't know if other distortion pedals will affect this differently and work with it differently, so you may have to try this with some other distortions that you may have if this is the route that you're doing. But in my case here with the Metal Zone, it's a no-brainer. So let's move on to Fuzz. If you are enjoying the content, please go into the description and use one of my affiliate links if you are considering purchasing anything that you see in this video. It helps me out, it adds no cost to you, and remember to delete the Honey app, the Honey extension, if you're using it, because it makes its money by stealing affiliate links from people like me. So we now have the Fuzz face silicon on the floor. We have the fuzz maxed out, as you do, and I actually have the volume backed off because working with the Boss Katana, it has a decent push. It's just a little too loud. So hey, yeah, that's just how it is. Let's turn it on and get a bass tone with just the fuzz face. Well, it sounded decently okay up until the end there. Anyway, let's hear Fuzz face going into bit crush. Alright, so pretty cool, pretty heavy. It all works together. Fuzz and bit crush are almost in ways, they're very similar in effects in general. But so you'd expect them to work well together. However, let's see how it works when bit crush goes into the fuzz. Okay, so now we have the ring mod going into the fuzz. Usually the fuzz is pretty exciting in general, but sometimes it can be kind of a letdown as when we have to have the modulation going into the fuzz as our final test. But let's see if that's the case, if we get kind of a letdown here. Who knows? People who skipped ahead, they know. But if they skipped ahead, they probably didn't come back. Okay. So what happened was basically that the Bit Crusher boosted into the fuzz. I guess there is some lower end tonal residue, let's call it, that it gets put forward obviously when boosted and driven afterwards. So the fuzz was, or the bit crush was more present in this instance than it was in the distortion in the same configuration, but also it just plainly, I think, still sounded better coming after the fuzz. That's usually how it is, but yeah, tell me what you thought in the comments below. Tell me what your favorite position was, and tell me what your favorite drive was to work with the Bit Crush. To recap, what I thought was the best was I thought it sounded best coming after on all three of the effects. The Overdrive was, again, a pretty close contest where it's just different and it depends on what you really want. Distortion, there was nothing to the Bit Crush when the Bit Crush was going into the distortion. And then for the fuzz, it was, again, pretty close to the distortion, but this time there was a little more of the modulation present. But again, the Bit Crush coming after takes the cake, as it usually does. So, if you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like. If you found it informational, helpful, or entertaining, please leave a like. This is normally a music and 3D printing channel, so we talk about 3D printing subjects and 3D printers, and then we talk about guitar, drums, and bass occasionally, talk about subjects around those, and then additionally I just kind of do whatever I want very occasionally. So, if any of that sounds good, please consider subscribing. I do not currently have a regular income, so I know I said this before, but I really have to push it. Please use one of the affiliate links in the description if you plan on buying anything you have seen or heard in this video. I will try to post affiliate links to anything that I'm using to make them as accessible as possible so that you can get my tone if for whatever reason that's what you want. And of course, remember to delete the honey extension because it steals the affiliate commission from people like me and all the other people that you may or may not use affiliate links from. So that's all I have to say for now, so I'm gonna say bye-bye.